Good afternoon, New Bedford Guide, New Bedford residents, everyone else on the South Coast. We're here doing our live weekly show with the New Bedford Police Department. This week we have a special guest, not new to the force, but new to his job, which is a Public Information Officer, Lieutenant Nathaniel Rodriguez. So welcome to the show, Officer Rodriguez.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
And it's Lieutenant Rodriguez, right?
Correct, Lieutenant Rodriguez.
Let's go first. What is a Public Information Officer?
All right, so a public information officer, he provides, information to the public, provides that information, some of the things that we deal with as far as law enforcement. We provide information on arrests and cases that we're working on. Some of them are, obviously sensitive in nature. We can only provide so much, but I mean, that's pretty much what we do is we provide the media who in turn provides that information to the public.
So how's it been so far?
It's been great. It's been about,
so you filled in you went from Lieutenant Mello to Rezendes to now
Yes.
you, right? Pretty quick
Yes.
as a promotions and retirements?
Yeah, it was definitely some movement there. It's been a quick transition, but it's great. It's a challenging position, and I enjoy it.
So I want to talk about, this week we've had a few, I won't say they're major stories, but there's some stories of career criminals being released back into the public. So on Tinkham Street, it's kind of a condemned, boarded up spot, but there was 8 people arrested on Wednesday. And I'm going to read a little bit of this to get people aware of what's going on, what these officers face every day in the city of New Bedford. So police respond to report of a man robbed on 149 Tinkham Street Wednesday, led to the shutdown of the property and arrest of 8 people, including a man with a lengthy criminal record who served 15 to 20 years in state prison for murder. The property at 149 Tinkham Street, which is bank-owned, so someone seized the property, the bank seized it, has been subject to complaints from neighbors and multiple requests for police services. The property has been boarded up and is no longer inhabited following the arrest of 8 people Wednesday on the 3rd floor of the building. So here's where it gets interesting. So one of those arrested was Hector Torres, 62 years old. So he's a grandfather probably, I'm guessing, or older. He was charged with unarmed robbery, assault and battery, trespassing, and possession of Class A/B substance with intent to distribute. Class A and B is heroin, fentanyl generally. B is fentanyl, A is heroin, my experience. Torres has a long criminal history, including 23 adult arraignments. His previous conviction for possession of firearm, dealing heroin, burglary, robbery. He was also convicted of murder in 1983 and sentenced to 15 to 20 years in state prison. 9 days before his most recent arrest, so we're going back to February 5th, the same address was raided and arrested for narcotics detectives for dealing drugs. So busted for dealing drugs, and then you got 9 days later, he's busted for unarmed robbery. But during his arraignment on Thursday, February 15th, Judge Paul Polino, remember that name, Judge Paul Polino, set his bail at $1,000. So career criminal, someone with 23 adult arraignments, someone who's been in his system twice in 9 days, got a $1,000 bail, even though the district attorney asked for $10,000. And they also asked for his previous bail for February 15th to be revoked. He posted $1,000 and he's back on the street in New Bedford right now. Okay, so this is one story, and as I was preparing for the show, I got an email of another person we'll go over later in the show, but what does stuff like that do to the morale of a police officer?
Well, it's definitely frustrating for us. Like I've said before, I mean, through a law enforcement perspective, when you're out there, risking yourself, doing good work, and making these arrests to take these people off the streets, and really only to see them, shortly after out on the streets again. And not only out on the streets again, but they're actually committing crimes, and as we've seen, more violent crimes. So that's the issue, we have, not only law enforcement here in the city of New Bedford, but also across the country. I mean, this is not a new phenomenon. This is something that happens. I can't speak about other, obviously other jurisdictions, but we've seen a trend here, and it's concerning for us, and it's concerning for the residents, of this city.
Yeah, I mean, I read this, I wouldn't say on a weekly basis because it's not always available, but it's happening, seems, on a weekly basis. So it's frustrating for me, for citizens. I couldn't imagine arresting these people, and I'm going to read another one after this, but you have someone who was convicted of homicide, and the judge didn't think, $1,000, which is, Massachusetts is a little different bail. Most people don't know, and I learned this last year. It's a cash bail. There's no bail bondsman, so it's not like you post 10%, so it's $100 and get out. So it is a full $1,000, but DA thought, $10,000 was more appropriate, and the judge let him out. I had a dealing about a few years ago, where I had a guy was busted on a Friday, I think he had 8 outstanding warrants. He's busted with a .357, 100 rounds of .22 ammunition and a .22. I posted it on New Bedford Guide on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. That guy was posting on his own article. So I messaged the DA's office. I'm like, how is this guy got a prison phone and he's texting? Oh no, we asked for 1,000 and the judge dropped to like 500 or something like that. So he's back on the street doing it. So this is like, I mean, a .357, it's like a cop killing gun, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, and the district attorneys obviously do a great job on their end. I mean, their job is to, try to request those bails or ask for revocations, and that's all they can do is make that request, and, and it is frustrating, and, we just hope that one day that one of these individuals who are released, don't really hurt somebody. I mean, that's what we're praying that doesn't happen. And again, we're doing our part. We can only do so much as a law enforcement aspect of government. And after they get into the judicial system, it's a different ballgame.
So I'll ask you an update on the shooting. So on Tuesday night, 8:40, female was shot in the upper torso on Chestnut Street, 130 Chestnut Street. Went to the hospital. Any update on that?
I mean, it's still under investigation. The only update we have is that individual is no longer in the hospital, since been released. So
it's good news. So
good
you
news,
get a
yes.
shooting victim back out.
Yes, definitely.
If you're out and 2 days later, then it wasn't too serious, I hope.
That's what it seems like, yes.
So what is your background? So you speak Spanish?
Yes, I do. My family, I'm born and raised in Massachusetts, in Bedford, Massachusetts. My family came over from Puerto Rico, so been on the job about 14 years. Got promoted to sergeant in 2013. I was in professional standards for a year, which is our internal affairs division. In 2017, I got promoted to lieutenant. Did a short stint in patrol as a lieutenant on the midnight shift. Then in November, I believe it was in November, I got the position as the director of training for the department. And then, as you well know, like there was some movement. There was quite a bit of movement, some shifting around, and then tomorrow will make 1 month that I've been in this new position. Was the public information officer and the assistant to the chief.
Yeah, Chief's a pretty busy guy, right? So
Yeah, he's busy.
So you probably take on all the roles and responsibilities, or is it just something you have to kind of fill in as the?
Yeah, it's a little bit of it. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, we're all pretty busy. I mean, from patrol division all the way up to the chief, we're busy. It's a big department. It's a very busy department, and I'm there to assist the chief when he needs, and also the public information aspect of the job as well.
So you're filling a position that before Rezendes was Lieutenant Mello. He's now in the Ward 1, which is like the biggest North End. I'm sorry,
Correct.
not Ward 1, but the North End.
North End district.
Any
yes.
update? How's the North End looking compared to I think it starts at Cogs and goes all the way up to Freetown.
I mean, Captain Mello's done a great job.
Yeah.
As soon as he stepped in there, it seemed to drastically improve. So he's done a great job showing his leadership, and I think he's going to continue to improve with his leadership and the officers and that work under him in that district.
Yeah, so this is the press release we got, and this all ties back to that Tinkham Street address. I'm going to go over again. This is another judge thing. New Bedford Police arrested a city resident Tuesday for possession of a stolen motor vehicle, just days after he was arrested for unarmed robbery, trespassing, and assault and battery at intent at 149 Tinkham Street. And that's the one we just talked about. Okay, so despite 3 arrests in 17 days, 18-year-old Joshua Luna Augusto, I won't give his address, was released without bail by 2 separate judges and is free in the streets of New Bedford. So now we got 2 people free on the streets of New Bedford that we just talked about. So February 3rd, failure to stop. He ran from the police and got arrested. And then he says, and then February 14th, unarmed robbery, trespass and assault, and battery connection with robbery of a man on 149 Tinkham Street, the one we just talked about. So he just got busted, then he gets busted again later on 149 Tinkham Street. 7 other people were arrested, as I talked about, which led to the city closing the location. He was released without having to post any bail in the case by the Judge Pino. Despite his February 3rd arrest and with a stipulation that he avoided any problems by the judge prior to the scheduled court date on March 30th. Instead, Augusto was again arrested Tuesday night for possession of a stolen motor vehicle outside of Rite Aid on Acushnet Avenue. Police recognized the vehicle and made arrest of him. At his arraignment on Wednesday, just yesterday, the district attorney's office requested Judge Pino revoke his bail based on the February 14th incident that he had been held without bail. Judge Pino refused that request. He also refused the district attorney's subsequent request that Augusto be held on a $1,000 bail. Judge Pino instead set him free without having to post any bail at all. His next court date is March 30th. So you got a man arrested 3 times in 17 days, and he's doesn't have to pay $100, let alone anything. And before this, we had a guy who was released on bail, and then he had an unarmed robbery again. So this is 3 in this week alone. And I know you guys can't always send out press releases because you're busy, arresting people like this. So I won't go back to the morale thing, but I can't see how this is a police officer. I could not go to work every day and read this kind of stuff and see this kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, Mike, again, it's frustrating for us, right? Just imagine those who have been a victim of crimes. There's a good chance that they could see these people walking amongst them, whether it's downtown or wherever the case may be. So it's frustrating. It is frustrating, but that being said, every day, every shift, midnight shift, the day shift, before the midnight shift, our detectives and our patrol officers and all of us, we suit up every day and do the job that we said we would do. Yeah,
Chief has a saying, you hear the streets, it says snitches get stitches, but he has a saying, silence leads to violence, right? So that's his saying. So would you recommend to people out there who think like reporting crime is snitching, or what's the best way if you see crime, I know you guys have an anonymous tip line, because people are usually worried about retaliation. I understand that,
understandably so, yes. Well, my only advice is, of course, never get involved. Last thing we want is somebody, to get hurt. But if you can definitely provide, call 911, get as much detailed information as you can. If you see an officer, flag them down, give them that information. We can't, listen, at the end of the day, it's all hands on deck. I mean, we can't do this alone. We need the public. I mean, it's a team. It's one entity. So without the public, there's only so much we can do. And that's how a lot of these cases, the majority of these cases, are solved with the help of everyone. The average citizen who sees a crime and doesn't turn their back and walk away, because they could potentially be the next victim. So it's important. It's important to report these crimes. It's important to also report suspicious activity, because sometimes that suspicious activity turns into a crime. So it's important to be aware of, your neighborhood, who lives in your neighborhood, who's hanging out in front of your neighborhood. It's important. And again, like I said, we have anonymous tip lines, so so people can do that. And I understand people being afraid of retaliation, and I get it. And I told we understand that. But there's ways of doing it without putting yourself at risk.
So as far as crime, New Bedford's been in the right trend for the last 2 years per FBI statistics. What does 2018 look like so far in your eyes? We only had 1 homicide, right, this year, I believe.
Yeah.
That's the.
Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully and hopefully that trend continues in a positive way. And I think so. I think we have great leadership, great officers who do their job every day, despite some of the issues that are out of their control, which is arresting people just to see them out shortly thereafter. So I think crime is a dynamic thing. It really is. It's a dynamic thing. But we definitely strive to protect the people of the city as best as we can, and to make sure that crime is trending down and not up.
So we take questions on the show. We got a few, mostly comments. They're all hating on the judge, which is honestly, I can't defend the judge at all. It's fair into these comments. So one question here, Mr. Cabral asks, we need more police officers on foot and in plain clothes on the hot spots. We all know the hot spots in New Bedford. I know you guys have like an intelligence system where you kind of get crime trends, you kind of position police officers in the right spot. But the question that's always been a complaint through the years is more beat cops. Is that a fair assessment? We need more beat cops, or? Well,
it's and I get it, and I understand people's frustrations. Crime is tricky, and it changes, and we have to adapt with the crime trends. We definitely use methods of figuring out where the hotspots are based on like tabulations and statistics and using, computerized systems. So we definitely, we meet constantly to get those numbers, and we address them. They are addressed weekly with the command staff, who in turn bring that back to their respective districts and relay that message to those who work under them. So as far as beat officers, unfortunately, everything, I wish we could have 1,000 police officers in the streets. Unfortunately, it just, it doesn't work the way we do. Our officers do go to certain neighborhoods, they get out of their cruisers and they walk, and we call them walk and talks, and CIOs, and, they go out there and they engage the community. So that's part of their daily routines in patrol division.
So in the state of Massachusetts, we had the bump stock ban recently. I know it's illegal to say buy and sell right now, and it's eventually going to be legal to possess them. Are you guys getting a lot turned in? Are there any in New Bedford getting turned in? Or,
I can't confirm any as of right now. We could probably, if that's the case, we could probably get those figures in the future. But as of right now, I don't know of any. But we're hoping that that's the case, and that's what we're looking to do. That's what we want,
It's been a while. I remember when I first came back to New Bedford in like 2010, 2011, the police did a couple of like turning your guns for coupons.
Yes.
Is there anything like that expected for 2018 that you know of?
It's something, we're always looking at doing things like that, like a gun buyback program. We're always looking to do those things. We're always discussing ways of being creative, and so it's something we'll definitely, we'll look into. We look into all those, avenues of getting, whether it's, outdated prescription drugs or firearms, so.
So, yeah, we got the phone. We'll get. Yeah, like, what happens if someone today wanted to turn in because I know this is a big thing right now on the internet we had the school shooting, right? 17 young students
Unfortunately,
killed.
yes.
So some people are actually voluntarily turning in their firearms. So someone wanted to voluntarily turn in, they probably shouldn't just walk into, with a gun, right, to a police station. So what would they actually do with that?
No, I definitely wouldn't recommend that. The best course of action is to contact our firearms division and speak to either Sergeant Lt or Detective Dave Consatio, and they can guide them in how to turn in firearms. But definitely, I definitely wouldn't walk into a police station with your firearm, and your intentions, maybe well, but we're in a day and age we don't know what we're faced with every day. So I would recommend, locking and securing it and bringing in a case that's secured if you're going to do that. And again, you could always just make a phone call to our firearms division, and they can better guide you on how to go about.
Call, make an appointment,
Yeah.
get the best info. Don't just
Get
walk
the best,
in with
just
your...
don't walk in.
Yeah.
And if you are going to walk in, please, make sure that the firearm isn't shown, it's secured, and locked in properly, and so we don't have any issues. We definitely don't want to encounter that.
Now, two things that the public, a lot of people are not aware about. I try to bring it up every show. So New Bedford, the headquarters on Rockdale is actually an internet transaction safe zone, meaning you can...
Yes.
There's cameras running 24 hours a day in the parking lot, but you can also go in the lobby and do your internet transactions.
Correct. That's it's the safest way of doing it. And we hear stories about people making transactions. They're buying items off of a Craigslist, or they're making transactions, and then they're agreeing to meet somewhere. And unfortunately, there are people out there that will use that to their advantage to commit crimes. So if you're going to do that, best practice is to do it. Go to police headquarters, 871 Rockdale Avenue, walk into the lobby, explain to there's always an officer manning the Criminal Record Bureau window. So just explain to that officer, whoever's working there, this is what I'm here for, and it's the best way to do it.
I think you guys still have a prescription drop-off.
Yes, we do. We have one at headquarters and also at Station 1.
Yeah, so that's important. Opioid epidemic, if you have extra medications and you have young kids in the house, get rid of them. Don't flush them down the toilet.
No,
bring
don't flush
them in,
them down
right?
the toilet, bring them in.
Yeah.
We have those things set in place for that. And again, also, children. Unfortunately, if a child gets to that, it could be a serious problem. So we want to definitely avoid that from happening.
So we're gonna show a photo here, so I'm gonna read off some information. So people they don't know a lot about what the union does. The union kind of took over the Wayland City Festival, and they do
Yes.
their thing. But there's something coming up I want to talk about, which is the Polar Plunge, right? So this was already scheduled, I think, earlier, but January was so cold in December that they had to like move it. So I'm gonna go over this and we'll post the information later on. But Saturday, March 24th at Each Beast in New Bedford, so in the South End. Last year they raised $24,000 for the Special Olympics of Massachusetts, which is amazing for a polar thing. So it's this year again, Saturday, March 24th. I'm on the New Bedford Polar Plunge. If you go to the New Bedford, just type New Bedford Police Union on Facebook, type it on Google, and you'll find this. We'll post a link as well so you can see this. Joshua Fernandez was the top fundraiser last year. He actually ran for city council, and he's a great guy. Someone got wounded on the bridge back in the day, right, during the shooting.
I had the luxury of listening to the tapes, to the communication dispatch tapes, and he did, considering what he was going through and having his partner sitting to the right of him, it's pretty amazing that he was able to gather himself and drive him and his partner to the hospital. It still gives me chills.
Yeah, that was the shooting at the strip club and
Yes.
on the bridge in New Bedford Haven Bridge there.
Correct.
So that was you remember what year that was? I don't remember. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
But you can see a scar when you see him.
Yeah, it's and even to be able to come back from that.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So
Yeah, he's a fine officer. He does a lot of this stuff, and he raised out of the 24,000, he was the top fundraiser. So we wanted to definitely take care of that. So we're going to cut this show pretty early today. You got something going on at 5 o'clock, right?
yes, I do.
You got to go take care of a bunch of, was it Cub Scouts?
Cub Scouts, yep, Pack 24. They want to come see. They want to see the police headquarters and some of the functions that we do over the headquarters, which is great.
Yeah, so that's a lot of people don't see. I definitely recommend you follow the New Bedford Police Department's Facebook page because they always post these kind of things up
Yes,
on there.
yes.
Good information, especially like when the Sister Rose House is open for the overflow shelter. We do it, but they do it as well. A lot of good information on their Facebook page. So thanks for coming out. Want to get the community to meet you and talk to you.
Appreciate it.
People are getting not tired of Joe Cadero, but Chief Cadero, but it's great to have some new face in here. So tune in every week. We did it a little early today, so the Cub Scouts get taken care of, but 5 o'clock every Thursday. Stay tuned for the Chris Rezendes show at 7 o'clock, and we're going to end with a Cafe Algarve video, some of the best food in the city of New Bedford.